Ladies and gentlemen, happy fucking New Year. It is I, Ancient Guile 5051 here again for another album review to keep your brat asses occupied in between savory helpings of Evolution Compost Muse. Muse as in Musings, not that British alternative band that released The Resistance back in 2009. I'm not very familiar with their music, and I heard that that album was somewhat of a shitter, but I'm unflinchingly certain that it cannot be as ludicrously bad as another album that got released the same year. I'm talking about For Your Entertainment by Adam Lambert. Holy mother's crack-addicted babies. For some of you who don't know, Adam Lambert was not too long ago a contestant in the reality TV singing competition show American Idol. I'm not a watcher of the show, but I ended up hearing about Adam Lambert because of a morning news report that said he had lost the competition to some other guy whom I've forgotten the name of. He was the runner-up, and by what I've heard in a few YouTube videos I've watched of his performances, he probably should have been the winner. There was even a performance on the show of him singing with Rob Halford, albeit one of the lamer, commercial-ready Judas Priest songs, breaking the law. Compared to many other contestants, he can hit notes most of them can't. So good for him. Some people speculated that he didn't win the show because he was openly gay, as opposed to the one guy who actually won the show. And this is probably true, because according to my research, a lot of country-aligned singers were winners in past seasons, and many of the fans of this television show reside in the good old South, where they fuck their third, second, or sometimes first cousin, say that Obama is a terrorist, and say that he's stealing their social security income. There was another guy in season 2, Clayton, who was the runner-up, who, while not out of the closet when the show was airing, he came out shortly afterwards as a homosexual man. Gay or straight, just like all the other contestants who ranked high in their respective seasons contest, Adam had received a mainstream record contract which launched billows of money every which way to him. Just like all the other contestants of the show, he had used this contract to make a pop album. And his might be the worst of the bunch. Seeing the album cover, it made me think that there was a glam approach to the album, and that's somewhat true. This album starts off with music again. First off, did he have Simon Cowell in mind when this song was being written? That fucking loser who has recently resigned from being one of the judges in the show. This is one of the worst opening songs for an album that I think I've ever heard. Despite his performances on the show, his vocal lines here are terrible, pseudo-luxury, and aren't even chic and Mary Kay. One major grievance with the song is the runoff of high notes at the end of the pre-chorus. I can't make up what the actual lyrics are. What the hell? What is that noise even supposed to mean? The refrain makes me feel like it was made for old people who are retired and somehow are playing roulette in a shallow chlorine water with the backs of their heads laid in the granite edge of the pool. What's his fucking audience demographic? The second track is the album's title track, For Your Entertainment. Once again, there's this barrage of shitty digital percussion and tasteless synths, with fake strumming for a guitar along with this backdrop. The third song in this album is actually Adam's major hit, What Do You Want From Me. It's actually written by Pink. Yes, that tramp. Don't forget I have to review That Idiot Wannabe someday as well. The first song in the album to add Adam with a songwriting credit is Strut, which is actually primarily written by one of the judges from American Idol, Cara Giovanni. What the ever-loving fuck? Why would you do that? I thought those judges just judged the contestants on their vocal performances. It really doesn't cast off a good impression when they start receiving songwriting credits on the contestants' albums. It might as well be someone else's album at this point. Then there's soaked with these contradictory symphonic instrumentation in the beginning, then in the verses, he sings like Tom York from Radiohead. Why the hell are you copying Tom York, Nimrod? Also during the verses, there's this horrible shoehorn synthesizer bell that's being played, and I felt a migraine coming on when I first heard it. The worst song in the album may just be surefire winners. The vocal melodies are all over the place and none of them sound tasteful. The lyrics are another story, just have a gander at this line. Flick the switch and the missile will fire, I'm a heat seeker. When I'm full of desire we're all drawn to the heat of the flame cause you wanna be a star. In the hall of fame I was born with glitter in my face, my baby clothes made of leather and lace, and all the girls in the club wanna know where did all their pretty boys go. Seriously, baby clothes made of leather and lace? Unlike some people, I wouldn't address this by questioning whether or not Adam Lambert is a pedophile, because I'm certain he is not, but this has to be one of the worst lines in a song from any of the albums I've listened to. The tone is absolutely ridiculous. Just imagine some newborn child with an outfit like the one he describes. And just so you guys are aware, a lyrical line like that is not chic and Mary Kay. The next song in the album is called A Loaded Smile. Yet again, Adam is doing this terrible Tom York impression. The drum rhythm sounds out of place with the melody. I keep wondering what the songwriters were thinking when they put in those asinine synthesizer keyboard sounds in the bridge. They sound so pulled out of the ass, whoever was using them. There's not much to say about the song, other than it sucks like the one before and like the next one, if I had you. The song is just a bland and generic huffing and puffing techno-pop song with the typical over-delivery of unrealistic emotions. Just think how quote-unquote modern sounding are mainstream pop songs supposed to get. I've listened to the song up to 4 times in the last week, and I still have no memory of what makes it distinguishable from the other songs in the album, or on radio, generally. It's at this point where every successive track becomes a repetition of what preceded in earlier songs with very little fresh spin in the album, as a whole becomes terribly exhausted at this point. I deduce that these songs are supposed to invoke some sort of cheeriness or happiness, but they do neither for me. I feel like I'm some upper middle class mom in a lime green World Market decorated dining room who's making metallic gift bags for her own birthday party. I just feel like listening to something better, like Melissa, by Merciful Fate. There's another electro dance pop song that bolsters this plastic sheen sound direction, where he talks about a menage a trois. It's called Fever. It sounds like it would be in the trailer for an American romantic comedy movie. It's utter trash. The song makes me think of that birthday party in some restaurant with filthy outside windows beamed by afternoon Sunday. The last song from the album, Broken Open, is absolute horseshit for a closing track. It tries to go for a more somber and subdued tone, but what you get is Adam still doing the groaning drawl like in tracks 5 and 7. Musically, it achieves nothing but dullness and it's written and performed very blandly. There's a bonus song, Time for Miracles, but I decided not to listen to it, because I found listening to all 13 songs of the actual album to invoke no, zero, sense of entertainment in me. I knew that it would just musically match one of or more of the other songs from this album. This album doesn't even follow a concept, like many great albums do, so why not just mix it in with the rest to leave silence after Broken Open? It would be technically more fitting. I am so grateful that I'm done listening to this fucking album. It gives me a headache, it creates fatigue, photosensitivity, sluggish pulse, sensibility nausea, among other things. Listening to this album all the way through made me feel like I was shopping in a Kohl's all day. Behind Adam's rocky delivery, the instrumentation is all plastic and synthetic. It's like having a new TV, and not taking the screen plastic off, but the catch is that there are 2 plastic layers over the screen. Guitar soloing or not, they don't make the songs any less derivative than they are. And they are not even played by Adam. For a debut, this album is crap. Hell, the Porcupine Tree debut album On the Sunday of Life is better than this album, and that album is technically a collection of songs from demo tapes. Musically, it wipes its ass with, for your entertainment. I insist you go listen to that album instead. If it weren't any of the other preceding albums made by former American Idol contestants to prove that they don't have viable merit outside the singing competition, let this be the example. Do not listen to it, it's trash. It's overproduced and underwritten. It's counterproductive and proudly stands as part of the problem in today's music. I can predict that the smash hit, What Do You Want From Me, is going to be played to death at wedding parties for the next 20 or 30 years. Played in all the big department stores for the bonbon-eating upper middle class, somewhat employed, Acura-driving suburban housewives. Played through the speakers of dentist and orthodontist offices. It supremely serves as the face of the generic, overarching sterile taste of the in-crowd, norm persons whom I see more and more of every time I exit my house.